Hey everyone, good evening. Happy Saturday night here. It is our open mic night, and I'm going to do a couple quick things here while we wait for a few people to join. I'm going to put up a banner for a little bit about the topic tonight. The topic tonight is how can deconversion from Christianity positively affect your physical and or mental health? So if anybody wants to consider course number one, you can comment. But if anybody wants to join in on camera, you're very, very welcome to. I'm going to go over a few things, but anyone that wants to jump in, please do so. No pressure. Hey, Stephen, great to see you. Thank you so much. Hope you're feeling better. Hey, Derek, great to see you. Thank you so much. And again, tonight's topic is going to be how can deconversion positively affect your physical and mental health? And in terms of just getting started, I think one of the things that I love about this topic is that it really does explore the idea of the idea that there's a psychosomatic connection between what we believe and the worldview that we have and what our bodies and minds are experiencing. So I do think that this is a topic that's often overlooked in our deconversion discussions. The connection between leaving Christianity and the positive effects that it's going to have on our bodies and our minds. And when you're still in that process, you're kind of lost. But when you get past it, a few steps, you do end up, when you get the other side of it all, and you start to get grounded, you start to reflect on what happened, and you realize, that there's some new ideas you need to explore. And one of them is that this thing called Christianity really did affect your body. So hope you got a snack or something to eat or drink while you're here. Again, there's no pressure to come on. It's just a safe, welcoming space to connect. If you do want to jump in on the chat, of course, I'll read through the chats pretty openly tonight, because this is not a big time for me to do too much talking. But we would love to have you jump in and get on camera. This is only, of course, for those who are heavily deconstructing and are deconverting. So again, we're going to talk about what happens to our bodies and our minds when we leave behind a belief system that was effectively suffocating us in different ways. And it's amazing how the mind and the body are really interconnected, isn't it? How even something like shedding your old fears and dogmas can lead to a newfound sense of well-being, even on a very, very physical, tangible level. It's quite interesting. So, hey, Derek. Derek's here. Miss Big Up, great to see you. Thank you all so much for joining. Elena, thank you so much. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Hey, the Peace Zone, great to see you here. And so we're talking tonight about the topic of how can deconversion from Christianity positively affect your health, your mental and physical health. So again, if anybody wants to, hey, Shell, great to see you. If anybody wants to jump in and tell a story, and that's a handle and a half. Let's see if I can get that right. Is that Tessinentecken? Probably botching it, but greetings from Switzerland. Thank you so much, Robin. We'll just go with Robin. Great to see you. And Anne-Marie, I've been healthier and happier since deconverting 13 years ago. That's awesome, Anne-Marie. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's great to hear. That's what you'd expect, really, Again, going to the psychosomatic part of this. And again, anyone that wants to jump in, I forgot to send the link here. So there's the link. It's in StreamYard now. My apologies. I meant to put that up at the very top. But I'll pop that in a few times here since it's not at the very top. Anybody wants to jump in, you're very welcome to. And as we wait for anybody, I was just thinking about the idea of, some of the topics and how this trauma can affect our bodies. And again, I'm just going to go through a few quick ideas on my mind because this is a chance for you all to jump in if you'd like to. But I think that one of the biggest ones is the whole sense of fear and guilt. And I often wonder, like, when you live with fear and guilt on such a profound level, how can it not take a massive toll on your mental health? I mean, how would you say, if you want to jump into the chat or again on the video, how would you say that breaking free from some of those fears of hell and the guilt of sin, how do those impact your anxiety levels? I mean, imagine thinking that there is a real, actual, literal hell that you might end up in if you don't toe the line in whatever way your particular dogma went. And to suddenly lose that, like, oh, it's never been real. It kind of reminds me of just like, we would talk about Jesus paid a debt that we couldn't pay. We would say that he paid it all. Well, imagine just knowing that that debt was never there in the first place. He didn't pay a debt that you couldn't pay. He didn't pay any debt. There was no debt. It's just not a thing. I was curious too, if any of you noticed any changes in your sleep and your energy and just your overall mood. I know that for me, I certainly felt less anxious when I deconverted. Again, for anyone joining, we're talking about how can deconversion from Christianity positively affect your mental and physical health. I certainly felt a lot less anxious. The nightmares about hell, not that I had them that much, but just that back of your mind knowledge, it's there. Hell is a real thing. When it's gone and you realize it never needed to be there in the first place, it can immediately affect your sleep patterns, like totally. And just being able to enjoy activities without guilt or fear of sinning, it's amazing. Let's see here. Shell says it frees up so much mental and emotional capacity, not to mention your time, even finances. Yeah, it's amazing. That the word capacity is a great word to put in there, Shell. Just your capacity it's wider, because you're all the things that you were like, I got to think about this and that and this Bible verse and that sermon, this ministry. All of a sudden, it's like it just all drops. None of it ever mattered, and none of it matters now at all going forward. It's a very, very amazing experience. And yeah, your finances, yeah, for sure. All the time and money you gave to the church. Stephen says, at first I was very confused and angry. Then I started to binge study. I soon realized that I knew only what I had been told and supposedly learned from my schooling. Since then, I've done a 180. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing, the difference. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, the confusion and the anger is definitely there at first, isn't it? It's definitely a big part of our journey at first, but so glad to be out of that. Global Solidarity says free will to think both sides of the situation and get understanding by being silent. Yeah. I'm assuming by that you're maybe saying, or at least implying, the idea that you're being silent, but you're listening to your own intuition, perhaps. I might be reading into that, but yeah, just getting understanding by listening to your own heart and your own mind. And empowered health, definitely more peaceful. Yeah, so many people who've done interviews with me have testified that they just felt so much more peace this side of deconversion. It's amazing just the consistency. A few people have said it's like, well, when I was in Christianity, I really, really felt peace because I really thought I was going to heaven and I thought God was with me, and that was quite the deal. That was quite the wonderful deal to be, have it on my side. But a lot of people have talked about how even with the promises of Christianity and how good that felt in some ways, and I would ditto that. The peace of just knowing it's not real and it's just irrelevant. It's irrelevant to your life. It was so much peace so quickly. Shayna, hey, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. I would hop on, but trying to connect my home internet at this exact moment. My phone data is barely able to stream, but happy to be on, listen, even if it's spotty. Thank you so much. We're so glad you're here. And feel free to just jump in with the comment if you have any thoughts as we talk through it here. We'll go for about an hour, so everybody's got plenty of time to chat. Love energy is never wasted. Yep. Carrie Ann listening as I write. Happy day to you all. Awesome, Carrie Ann. If you've got time to answer, what are you writing? Love to hear if you're writing a book or blog or what. I also found out that all religions are losing weight fast. We're not alone at all. Yeah, it's amazing. The nuns and the way the numbers are going. Yeah, it's a very big difference. I am free of hate and bigotry. It causes freedom. Yeah, that's a great point too, Derek. I love how you put that. It's an interesting thought to just think about the fact that even if we don't ever think about the fact that we have hatred in our heart, we really do have hatred for so much and fear. But, we obviously hate the devil. We hate the demons. We hate that whole, anyone that's on their side. We hate the evilness of the world. We hate the evilness in us. We hate our bodies. We're taught very much to hate gay people and anything else, that's not strictly, heterosexual, bigotry and wrapped up in that. We're taught so much hate. and so much fear of the unknown, like even the fear of like end times and things like that. It is truly amazing. And yeah, the freedom of it on the other side is just so beautiful. I've said this before, but I love being able to walk into a room and not worry about scanning everybody to see like who in this room is saved, who's not committed, saved but not committed to the Lord, all that kind of stuff. Who's worldly. It's just gone. It's just gone. Shana says, how I interact with people is so much less stressful now that they aren't a project to me, but a valuable person. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I think it's echoing what I'm saying, but just the knowledge that people are valuable and that they can give us insights and good ideas, and it's just great to know their stories, learn their stories and just not be trying to dominate their worldview perspective. Hey, we have Shell. Yeah, you can jump in if you just want to do audio. We'll take that.
Hi, Tim.
Hey,
can
great.
You hear me?
It's like great to see you, but great to hear you.
Oh, sorry. I don't have like makeup or anything on right now, so I didn't want to come face to face. But
oh, no worry. This is a low pressure environment, so yeah, feel free to jump in however you want to. But yeah, what's on your mind tonight?
Well, I was a Christian for a very long time, and I was a Sunday school teacher, a Bible study leader, all of that. My husband and I, we did like college and career Bible study. I was a independent fundamentalist, if you know what that is, like IFCA.
Unfortunately, I know that very well.
Okay. Yeah, so I was in that for a long time, and I got out like during COVID. I started researching things, and I found your videos and like Holy Kool-Aid and a few other things that really got me to start thinking critically. So thank you so much for that. That really helped.
That's awesome. Yeah, Holy Kool-Aid is really cool. I was honored to interview him just a few weeks ago. That's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. I missed that. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, he's really cool. What would you say are some of the big topics that were on your mind as you were deconstructing?
The thing that really got me started, because when you're in that state, you feel like you can't trust any sort of like now I read or listen to Bart Ehrman a lot, and his podcast too. He's a New Testament scholar, but back then I was they made you afraid to trust any secular scholar or anything like that. So I got into reading the New Testaments, or I'm sorry, I'm like nervous. I've never been on a live before. I got into reading the Gospels side by side, and especially the birth narratives of Christ, and just how different they were between Matthew and Luke. That really got me thinking, because in independent fundamentalist churches, they teach you that the Bible is completely 100% true without error. Yeah, so that was interesting to see, like, oh, they went to well, one of the things was Quirinius and Herod. I found that interesting. Between Matthew and Luke, in one, Quirinius was ruling, and Judea, I think, had like been annexed as part of Syria already, like part of the Roman province of Syria already. And in the other narrative, what's his name? Herod was still ruling. And then you had Herod Archelaus, who was then like deposed. And then finally you get to Quirinius. So you couldn't have Jesus being born under Quirinius in one gospel and Jesus being born under Herod's rule in another gospel, and then both be 100% correct. So like my church taught me. So that really got the ball rolling. And then once I realized, okay, this is not 100% all factual, then I realized, okay, maybe I should dig in a little deeper.
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes on steroids when you start to realize that we don't know who wrote the Gospels, and then you realize there's originally like 60 Gospels, and then there's actually a good argument that there's hundreds of Gospels that they've been buried, and you realize they're all anonymous and they're all edited, and each one of them has been hyper edited. We don't know the chain of custody and who's had them and who's changed them. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, like this, it goes from, is this particular passage trustworthy or not, to what is this? And you realize, like, some people have argued that they're not supposed to be read the way we ever read them, that they were literally just stage plays, which is really interesting to think about. Like, this is literally just a stage play, and the people are changing the stage play based on various audiences, and who knows, like, we just don't know. But yeah, and so many things that you could pile on top of that. Things about the Jesus character that appear in the Talmud, but the Jesus character is like, what, 70 or 80 years earlier, and then other stuff that's in the Gospels that's like 40 years later. You're like, okay, there's a bunch of time shifts going on here. Like, what? Why are you all doing this? Well, just stick with the actual timeline. But they don't have to if they're making it up, of course, and that's what it appears to be happening. And then once you get into the comparative mythology and the Odysseus stuff, or the Odyssey stuff, Homer's Odyssey, is like, oh my gosh, this is just mythology. This is another form of, might as well be worshiping Dionysius. And, you go down that line very far and you're just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Jesus does so many of the things that the Greco-Roman gods did. And I don't know why, when I was so steeped in the fundamentalist rhetoric, I didn't notice that. Or I mean, I noticed it, but they would play it off as Jesus was just trying to one up those gods. Like, God was trying to show that he had authority over storms and things like that. But the story of Jesus turning water to wine, that is so a page out of Dionysius' book, So that was really another thing that got me, was just all the comparisons to Greek gods, and then knowing, I found out about the Maccabees, and we found out how much the Greeks influenced the Jewish people prior to this time, and just that shows you that their myths and things like that were all floating around and during and prior to Jesus's time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, two quick questions. Number one, not a question, but just a statement. If you and your husband would like to ever share your full stories, either separately or together, feel free to reach out privately through Facebook. But just curious, is it correct to say that you all are both deconverted at this point?
We are both, both
Okay.
Fully atheist at this point. It's been since COVID, we've explored it together, and thankfully we've come out of it together, because I know a lot of people, and I know you're going through this too. When they don't convert at the same time, or deconvert at the same time, that's really, really hard. So I feel for you on that, because I don't know how we would do that, and just the parenting and all that.
Yeah, it is amazing. And so many people have testified, for many people, especially if you're married to a fundamentalist, you're treated as a traitor. I mean, it really is that serious. You're an absolute, complete, total traitor, and scum of the earth traitor at that. And it's very sad, very, very sad. And of course, there's anything else that was, your connections that were there kind of drop quickly, because at the end of the day, there's one thing that really matters. Are we raising our children, and is this family a family based on the word of God and his glory? And are we raising children to be little soldiers for Jesus, or aren't we? Because that's what we signed up for together. And now one of us is ditched. So it's very sad. Yeah. But it's awesome that you all were able to stay together. Could I ask, regarding the topic of the day, would you say that there's anything regarding your deconversion that has positively affected your physical or mental health?
Oh, definitely. When I was first deconstructing, I will say it was very difficult. Emotionally, I did have to seek therapy, because I lost my God, I lost my worldview, I lost my church family, and that was very important to me, because, like I said, we were really involved in our church. So that was, it was heartbreaking to lose all those people. Like you were saying, they just kind of drop you like you're a traitor, and that's so hard to go through that. Just being ousted, or you know what I mean. But then after that, there was a lot of peace, because I realized I'm no longer constantly in this cycle of like, what have I been doing wrong? Like I read a little bit of what Marlene Winnell, have you heard of her?
Yeah, I've actually interviewed her, but yeah, go on. She's
Oh,
great.
okay. I need to go back through your videos. I've missed some then for sure. Or maybe that is where I
Well,
don't know.
she was quite a while ago. So if you haven't been with me from the beginning, yeah, yeah, that was a while ago. But yeah, she's awesome. But yeah, what were you saying you
Okay.
learned from her?
So she had a quote, like, said, what the main thing that religion tells you is that you're not safe and you're not okay the way you are. Like, you need this religion to fix you. You need, Jesus's death on the cross, or any of the Abrahamic religions. You need to pray 5 times daily, or whatever it is, um, to save you. And that just keeps you in this state where it's like a survival state where you're trying to make sure you're okay with God. Even if, like, we were IFCA, so we believed, well, I'm trying to, like, we didn't believe that it was through works. We believed it was through grace, by faith, that you're saved. But still, you're kind of in that state where you're like, am I okay? And constantly evaluating yourself against that religion. And that takes a lot of time and mental capacity and emotional capacity to just be so wrapped up in that, and constantly having to pray and read your Bible and, reflect, are you right with God and on the right path and everything. So not having to do that anymore now that I've left is so freeing. I mean, I still reflect, but I have that freedom of thought. I don't have to anchor it back to a biblical thing. I don't have to anchor it back to what did God say.
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely say some of those issues were prevalent in my life as well, and it really is. It's like a hamster wheel, and when you're on it, you think this is just what we're all doing, and it's normal, and this is what I need to do to honor my God. And once you get off, it's like, wow, look what this did to my mind, and it just captured me, and it kept me so imprisoned for so long. But you're very articulate. I love the way you describe what you're going through. Can I ask? We really would love to hear the full story sometime. Please do reach out. My handle on Facebook is at Harmonic Tim. So just let me add me as a friend and reach out. We'd love to touch base with you and hear the full story when the time is right.
Yeah,
But
that would be great.
was there any other thoughts that you wanted to share with us?
That was basically it. Just wanted to put in my 2 cents there. So
Sure. Well, before you drop, let me just read. I see there's 1 or 2 nice comments about you. So let me just read them off to you, so you don't have to worry about being about blushing, because you're not on camera here. But see here. Susanna says, "Brave First Lady Shell, appreciate you. You're thoughtful and well read, and for connecting with logical conclusions." Yeah, absolutely. Shell has interesting thoughts. Let's see here. Guest is doing a great job. Absolutely. She should be interviewed.
well,
Yeah.
thank you.
You want to hear the whole story? I get it. I was disowned by my entire family. Oh, I'm so sorry, Cheryl. That's awful. Robert says, "This is so my story in many ways. I'm wondering how many here today can say the same." Yeah, yeah. Probably a lot of us. A lot of us. We're all okay. Beautifully articulated and totally honest and relatable. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. When I start talking about this stuff, it does kind of dredge up and I start to get anxiety, and then I remember, I guess, that state that I used to be in and everything. So it, yeah, but it's definitely better now that I left and don't have that constantly like hanging over my head. Cause I was like very fearful and full of anxiety as a child. And I think that really played into the religion, and, just really gave it a good root hold on me, you know.
Yeah, yeah. That's a really good way to put it. And it's amazing how much this stuff, like, once you're convinced as a child, I mean, not even convinced, it's just your worldview, your everything. Once it's everything that's the deepest part of you, you just can't see past it. You can't see the questions, the issues. You can't see the reality that there might be another way to see the world, and it doesn't matter almost how dark and difficult that journey is. If you just know that that's the truth, even though it's not. You stick with it for so long until you have some way to have the light shine in and reveal that there's other questions to ask and other ways to see it. But well, again, we appreciate your coming on so much, and please do jump in again maybe next time if you want to. Feel free to bring your husband with you, and feel free to reach out to me if you'd like to for you all to share your story again separately or together. But really appreciate your sharing your heart with us tonight.
Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Al. Great first person to kick us off. Absolutely. And let's see here. I missed a few comments, but let's see here. I'm going to add the link again for StreamYard if anybody wants to join me. Just a couple quick caveats. No nudity. No anyone that's here to convince us to love the Lord Jesus Christ and confess him as Lord and Savior. Feel free to go to a different channel that's more aligned with that worldview. But we're here to invite anybody that's in the community and is aligned with us to share your story, kind of what you're learning, what you're thinking through. Let's see here. Going back to hey, Carrie Ann, no worries. We'll just appreciate you being here. When I first left, I felt a lot of anxiety and had a lot of fear of hell. Fortunately, recently I have no fear at all. That is so cool, Miss Big Up. I'm so glad you said that. I have absolutely no fear at all of hell or of God's judgment. I remember even like when I was at the point of like, I don't fear hell anymore. Meaning when I was a Christian, I didn't fear hell because I just knew that I was saved and going to heaven. I still feared the judgment because the Bible says it's appointed once to die, and after that, the judgment. Like everybody, it says the books will be opened. Jesus says for every idle word that you speak, you'll give an account. And so I had this picture in my mind that was described to me many times of there will be a judgment day, and there were books that would literally be opened up to say, this is what you've done. Look what you've done in your physical life, with your body, with your mind. Think of all the X-rated stuff you've done in your head, or in your real life, in your body. Like it's all going to be like an open, like a book or projected on a TV, and everybody's going to see it. And God's going to be there basically saying, you filthy, slimy sinner, but I'll save you because of Jesus. I'll save you. But you're a sicko, but I'll save you. That's what I was thinking was basically happening, even to Christians. Because it says he's going to open the books and tell everybody what you did. He's going to judge you for it. And then it's like Christ is going to say, yes, he does deserve punishment, but I'm covering him. He's like, he's got a debt he can't pay. I've got him. I'm good. His tab's good with me. So that was how I saw it. Allie Bree, thank you. Breaking the silence, breaking the cycle. Looks like we have someone joining us, and I'll just read one or two more comments here, and then we'll have another guest here. Give me 1 second. Cheryl says it's so liberating to not force yourself to try to believe the impossible. This truly helps a healthy mental health. Yeah, it really, really does. Yeah, that's a great point. Believe the fact that we believed the impossible. What a great way to put it. Let's see here. I already read that one. And Miss I, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate that so much. Hi all. Opening up my mind has led to my best year so far, mentally and emotionally, hoping to put depression behind me permanently. That is awesome. That is so awesome. Yeah, and I would that the ability to just fight depression and to identify where some of the places it's coming from is so critical, so awesome. And to realize that not all depression is related to Christianity. Of course, there's a lot of reasons, a lot of ways it happens. Some of it's just chemicals in our brain, perhaps. A lot of it we do need therapists for and counselors. But whatever the reasons, if we can identify that some of it probably did come from Christianity, from the depression of just thinking we're not measuring up, et cetera, yada, yada. And all those legalistic ways that we may have felt we had to jump through hoops to honor God, just lose it. It's just all gone. All the depression of, oh my gosh, God's so ashamed of me. It's just gone. So I've got some more comments to read. I'll read those in a few minutes. We have another guest here, so I'm going to bring you on here. Let's see. Devin, it looks like.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, Devin? How you doing?
Hey, Harmonic Atheist, how are you?
I'm good. It's great to see you tonight. What's on your mind?
I saw the title of the show and said open mic. I thought I just wanted to say hello. I don't have anything I wanted to share or anything. I just wanted to say hello.
Well, thank you. You have one of the brightest, happiest smiles I think I've ever seen.
That,
You look pretty happy.
thank you. Yeah, I am. I no, not I believe. I know it's because I took in a lot of sunlight earlier this afternoon. I was breathing in a lot of sunlight, so
Awesome.
that's possibly what it could be.
Can I ask, where are you with Christianity?
Oh, I um I'm no longer a Christian, although I do believe in coexisting, meaning that um I accept people for who they are, as they are, as long as we can respect each other's differences.
That's awesome. Well said. Well said. Well,
Yep.
it's great. It's great to see you, Devin.
Hey,
You're please jump in anytime you want to, and appreciate your being a part of the community.
Of course. Because I just want to say this for the record, in case this great friend of ours is watching, and I'm talking about you, brother Brady. I just want to say that, although I am a spiritual person, I don't throw my critical thinking out the window.
Well said. That's
I
such a critical piece of this.
Yes.
Awesome. I will be in touch with Brady. I'll actually be doing a live stream with him next this upcoming Friday afternoon. So yeah, I'll definitely let him know that you were here and
Yeah.
chatting about him. Yeah, Brady's awesome. I can't wait to be on with him again. He and I have collaborated a little bit, but we're talking about Brady Goodwin. If everyone doesn't know, Brady with the Icapod YouTube channel.
Right.
Brady is awesome. Please
Shout
go
out to
like and
Ichabod,
subscribe to him.
man.
I'll put the link for his YouTube channel in if anyone doesn't know who I'm talking about. And but please do like and subscribe. Brady's doing great work. Devin, was there anything else you wanted to share with us tonight before we wrap up?
Yeah. Yes. How can I ask it? What? Oh, I do have a question. What would it take for someone that has a strong emotional attachment to the the Christian Bible, from the religious sense? What what would it take for them to have to, like, lose that emotional attachment to the biblical literacy of the book? Because when when you're let's say born and raised in Christianity, you are indoctrinated with the philosophical beliefs and the conceptual idea that these entities are real. What what would you say, someone that's extremely emotionally attached to the Bible, what what would be some keys and tools and ideas to help them break from that, you know uh, train of thought and paradigm? How would you be able to deconstruct that individual?
That's a great question, and the easy part about that is that you're describing me. You're describing me, so I can answer that one pretty easily. Not just not just
I hope I didn't offend.
No, not a bit. It's a great question. I would say that my answer will be from my perspective. So some other people would probably chime in and say say it a little differently, but I'll give you my 2 cents.
Mhm.
What happened with me was I started with the issue of the psychopathic nature of Yahweh, the fact that Yahweh was a very nasty character, commanding genocide and land theft and slavery and child brides and stoning and etc.
I
That was
believe
where it
that.
started. It was where it started from.
Mhm.
But once it launched there, the big issue for me became the mythology, comparative mythology. Because if you think Jesus is real and you think Yahweh is real, and then you start to dig into the fact that Yahweh used to have a wife and used to be the son of Elyon and that there was a whole pantheon. You're like, okay, so the Lord, Lord, the Lord has a mythological history that is well established. And then, of course, you get into the Jesus stuff, like we talked about before with Shell, where Jesus is clearly copying, the Jesus stories are clearly copying from the Greco-Roman mystery cults and the pantheons there. Eventually, you start to just have holes all over the place. So I would say to me, the two big areas were, is Yahweh a good character? Like, if he had been real, would he be good? And for a lot of Christians, I will admit that that's a hurdle, because their starting point is, I know that he is good and he's the definition of good. Therefore, if you're saying he's not good, you're trying to supersede that and put yourself in the judgment seat. You can't even understand what's good, because he's the very definition of good. And so they would say, if God wants to slaughter people, then he's allowed to. He's the king. He's the potter, we're the clay. So a lot of Christians are going to play gymnastics with that one. But at some point, what happens is, some of us got shaken up by some conversation or some experience that said, I know I used to stand behind this. I used to defend it. And you know what? I just can't do it anymore. I just can't do it anymore.
Right.
And for everyone, it's different. For me, I wasn't out until I was 43 years old. Someone could argue, well, you could have been out at age 30 or 35. Why did it take you so damn long? It's like, well, I don't know. For me, it was my kids. It shook me up to say, can you really pass this on to your children? And my heart, my mind, my conscience, for some reason said, for the first time in my life, you can't pass this on to other people. I can pass it on to the youth group and to the adults in the church. But when it came to my own kids, I said, no, I got to stop this. And that was the only thing that got me up. But again, everybody else would probably say something different, but that was my journey. I would start there with psychopathic nature of Yahweh, and the atrocities of the Old Testament, and then the mythology. Hit them hardcore with the mythology if you can.
Right.
And apart from that, there's a bunch of other little questions that come up, like why is God giving kids cancer? Why are thousands of kids a day dying of starvation? Even kids have died while we're talking. Where was God? Kids have been molested while we're talking. Where was God? This it's like, doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
So I would push all those in their face, but do it obviously as gently as you can. But when they're open to it, it's like, this is what gets me out. And your God sounds like a nutcase. I don't want that God. And I wouldn't force him if I could.
Right. Full of well, what's the word that Bobby Allison taught me? Man, I miss him. Full of sophophobia, which is the fear of knowledge, or the fear of learning. Yeah. And that's what I'll say it multiculturally. That's what our people who subscribe to Christianity, no matter the race and color, that's the biggest trauma that they suffer with the most. Sophophobia.
Yeah, it's funny when you said that. The song that came to my mind was this old song I used to hear on the radio. It goes, "Give me that old time religion, it's good enough for me." And it's just like,
I remember that song.
You remember that song?
Yeah.
Just like, I don't care what the new knowledge is. Like, I know the word of God is the word of God, and I plant my flag right there. He's my firm foundation, and that's all I need to know. And if you're convinced that that's the start and the end point of your life, right, you are pretty much stuck until something shakes you up. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I would be kind of blunt with it though. I would just tell them that they are spiritually ignorant.
Yeah. And honestly, even those of us in Bible college and ministry, we were too. A lot of us were very ignorant. But Devin, I just want to say I appreciate so much your joy. You really do exude a lot of joy. Do you have family there with you?
I do. Actually, it's one of my good friends' birthday weekend. So my mom is frying chicken for him today.
Oh, nice! I love fried chicken. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, have a wonderful dinner. And was there anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Yeah. Yes. And I wanted to add just a little tidbit, not too long, because this isn't an interview, but I wanted to say that what I mean, I talk about my deconversion story on my YouTube channel, the occult world of Brother Devin. Um, uh, in short, I'll say that in short, I'll say that what did it for me was I asked my Old Testament college professor. Um, my question to him was, if we have a heavenly Father, how come we can't honor our divine mother? And I told him, I said, you know, I I I I believe in God, but I feel like there's something missing. You know what I mean? And I exposed him in front of everyone. I said, you teach us the Gospel of Thomas, this and that. Y'all low key be secretly teaching us the secret book of John and all that. Just to try and give us higher perspective. But I'm just like, something ain't right about this Christian religion that I was raised on. Like, because my my logical frame of mind is, if I have a mother, my mom is 57, and I have a biological father. He's in his 50s. I just can't remember how old he is, and fortunately I don't care. But anyway, anyway, man, I'm just like, okay, if we have a mother and father, if we okay, if we have a mother and father in the physical realm, why not uh, get to know the divine mother within the soul realm? I don't want to use the word celestial because it has too big of a religious connotation.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's interesting how the Catholics would say they certainly get to know the mother with Mother Mary, but yeah, it is interesting to think about how there's a pretty, at least in the Protestant side, we really don't talk about Mother Mary too much, even though she is pretty important part of the story, obviously. But
right, but also too, wouldn't you say in the Old Testament of both the canon and the Hebrew Bible, they have a woman that they call the Queen of Heaven, and her name is Ashura.
yeah,
Why are there no secret books about her? You know
yeah. Well, there probably
what?
were at some point. They probably got all burned, right?
Po- Possibly knowing the powers that be that control religion.
Yeah. Someone else put a comment in here I thought was good. Why has God only one son and not a daughter? So that's the other
Right?
part. Not just a wife, but a daughter. Yeah.
Exactly. Like it makes no sense because we're all born with a mother and a father, and in the exoteric Christian Bible. No, notice I said exoteric. In the exoteric Christian Bible, they in the Ten Commandments, which is plagiarized, they say that they tell you to honor your mother and your father for your days will be long. In other translations, it says you will live a long, prosperous life. So if we're supposed to honor our earthly mother and father, wouldn't you say that if we had the divine opportunity to honor our divine mother, shouldn't she be acknowledged in that same account?
Yeah. And that's down to one word: patriarchy. It's all
Yes,
patriarchy at that point. It's all for sure.
yes.
Devin,
I
I'm going to wrap up, but thank you so much for joining me, man. It's awesome to see you. I love your smile. You definitely come back and visit us at some point. Thank you so much for
Okay.
being part of the community. Really, really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Like I'm gonna soon tell people on my channel, because I have a segment coming called the Black. It's gonna be called Brother Devin, the Black Preaching Pagan, and I'm basically gonna give both a critical analysis on the Bible, and a logical analysis, as well as a metaphysical point of view on the Bible as well.
Well, you sounds like you got a lot of good stuff on the plate there. That's awesome. Well, keep
Yeah.
at it. Keep at the great work. I did put the link for your YouTube channel in the chat, so everyone that wants to look them up and subscribe, feel free. But Devin, thank you so much again. Have a wonderful night and enjoy the birthday party.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Thank you.
This is great. I can't wait to see more episodes.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Devin, for joining. That was awesome. And I saw a question come in that I'd like to address. I'm going to probably go back to a few comments here, but I did want to touch on this. I thought this was really good. And again, the topic of the day is a little bit different than this one, but so we're going to come right back to it here in a minute. But I thought this was a really good question. And I think some of you have also been jotting down a few notes here. So R. Austin says, I would appreciate your thoughts and those of others about how one goes about developing their own identity after deconversion, any resources you might know of. And so let's see here. John says, one thing I can recommend is choose daily to love, be kind, and help someone if they need it. You accomplish that daily. I assure you, you'll find your identity. I wish you the best. Susanna says, I'm in that process of developing my sense of identity through an 8-week CBT course, just week 2, but highly recommend. That's awesome. Let's see here. What you think matters, how you feel matters, what you say matters. Don't let anyone tell you different. A resource book with the mythology of Greek compare with, let's see here. That's probably more about the conversation we were having. Secular Therapy Alliance is a good way to find someone you can trust if you live in the Bible Belt. Robert, by the way, I'll come back to your comment in a minute. And yeah, absolutely. So I do want to address that question. I want to put it back up on the screen for a second. How do you go about developing your own identity after deconversion? And I think that's a great point, because a lot of us feel like we don't know who we are, because you don't know. You were convinced you were simply a child of God, and maybe you found honor in that when you were a Christian, but then you realize it was never real. You might as well say you're the child of Ronald McDonald, or Tom and Jerry. It's a nothing. It doesn't make sense. It's just nonsense. It's just a mythology or a story. To say you're a child of this stuff is it doesn't mean anything to you, and yet it meant so much to you when you were in it. But I would say, for me, just a couple quick thoughts. I would say acknowledge that there's a sense of loss and confusion that's going to come, and you do feel stripped of your foundational beliefs. You do have like that gaping void where your faith used to be, and it's not something to rush through. I think it's natural. Give yourself that time, that natural emotional aftermath of losing something. Grieve it. It's a real grieving process. You're going to feel aimless for a little bit, because you had that predefined sense of purpose when you were serving God, and you might be confused now about morality, like what makes something good or bad if the Bible isn't the standard. So many questions like that. But you do get, as you grieve through that, and you begin to say, I acknowledge, like, this is a hard process and I'm really hurting. As you get past some of those initial stages, and you get to a point where you're not as shocked, your system's not as shocked, start to list out some of the core things that you used to believe that you held. Maybe that you would say, I held this belief as a Christian. I don't mean about God, but your beliefs about the way you live your life. So, for example, you might say, I really believe in being kind to people. I believe in loving my neighbor. Yes, the Bible says to love your neighbor, but also I believed in loving my neighbor. Of course, it also says, there's times to slaughter your neighbor and enslave your neighbor, but we'll ignore those for the moment. Let's say you really held that value strongly of, I want to love my neighbor. And you had the strong desire to feed the poor. You remember passages where, they're exhorting Paul to make sure that as he's doing ministry, don't forget the homeless and the widows. And James says, pure religion and undefiled is this: visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction, and keep yourself unspotted from the world. You're like, you know what? I don't need to keep myself unspotted from the world, but I do want to visit the fatherless and the widows, people in need. That's me. I want to tell the truth. Whatever it is, even just more very personal stuff. Like, I want to, make the day count. Like, the Bible talks about, what's that verse I'm thinking of? Redeem the time, because the days are evil. I want to redeem the time. I want to say, carpe diem, seize the day. My life is short. So list out the core values that you had as a Christian, and then say to yourself, well, which ones still resonate with me, or which ones can I adapt that I can strip out the mythology from and say that's still true. The truth will set you free. Yeah, damn straight. I still believe that the truth will set me free, including the truth that the Bible's not true. But yeah, the truth will set me free. I do believe that helping my neighbors is an important thing. And so you're going to go through things like compassion, integrity, even something like, I love to learn. And you might have couched those traits before in religious terms, but I think they can still be very valuable and meaningful outside of a religious context. So, a lot of that's going to come down to humanistic principles and ethical philosophy. But then, experiment with new perspectives. I mean, that's one of the best parts about deconversion is you have the freedom to explore new ideas without the fear of eternal consequences. So whether you're looking at humanism, existentialism, Buddhism, some kind of secular spiritual practice, whatever, find something that resonates with you and begin to integrate it into your worldview in a way that hopefully, again, takes as much of the mythology out, puts as much autonomy and power on you, gives you as much information about, well, where do these ideas come from? And, something as simple as mindfulness and meditation might be a good starting place. I would recommend things like authors like Carl Sagan, Alan Watts, of course, Christopher Hitchens. See how they're framing meaning and existence, and that might help. A couple other thoughts real quick. Reclaim your authority over your life. Christianity is going to instill in you this sense that you have to obey and submit. You're the slave. You're God is your master. And part of this is really going to come down again to autonomy. Trust yourself to make your own decisions and allow yourself to be the final authority in your life. Take responsibility, of course, when things go poorly, but make decisions on what you genuinely believe and desire. You don't have to pray for guidance or seek approval from a higher power, but do what's best for you. And I think it's important too. One of the things that kind of happens by default is you begin to discover in going through all that, you discover your passions and your interests outside of religion. Because for many of us, everything was like church and ministry and youth group and prayer time and this and that, worship. It's like all of a sudden you have more time and more energy and more availability to explore other interests that you might have, not really had time for before, put aside. Reconnect with your hobbies. Try new activities. Do things that really make sense for you. Get out that paintbrush, start exploring art, do poetry, come on our poetry slam in a couple weeks, dive into science that used to maybe not be able to read because it was too secular. Of course, a big part of this is going to be, you're going to find in doing that your community is changing by default. So try to build a new community of some sort. You're going to lose your religious community, join some kind of Facebook group or some group somewhere, and then just slowly look back after, give yourself time. But at some point, look back and say, how can I create my own purpose and meaning? It's not my purpose and meaning isn't going to be dictated to me, but I can make it. I can make my own purpose and meaning. It's not a predefined narrative, but for me, for example, and I'm sure a lot of you would do this, make it the idea of making a positive impact in the lives of others. Something that's going to align with your values, whether could be creating a platform like this, could be environmentalism, could be human rights, could be animal rights, could be whatever, just to do something that helps you say, I'm going to leave this planet better than I found it. And of course, I'm not meaning to override to the necessity that some of us are going to need actual therapy and counseling. Obviously secular, don't go to a Christian for this kind of help, but get some kind of safe place, including if it's necessary, a therapist, make sure that you're always, safe, and address those feelings of guilt and shame that were so part of your life before, maybe even hell, and I would say one cool thing is to start to rewrite your story. Whether you come on a platform like mine and share your story, where you literally just write it out, or write poetry, or just talk it out in your own head or journal. Get your personal narrative somehow, some way. Who are you? Who were you? Who have you become? What did you lose to become who you are? But who have you become? And who do you want to be? And you're effectively claiming ownership of your story. You're transforming it from this tale of loss, like, oh my God, look how much I've lost, and I've lost this time and this and that, to no, I'm not going to be the victim forever. This is going to be a story of growth and discovery and beauty and loveliness, and I'm going to redeem my time. I'm going to be courageous. This is not a fall from grace. This is my journey toward authenticity. And again, sort of where I started from, be gentle with yourself. Practice a lot of self-compassion, a lot of patience, a lot of grace, if we can redeem that word. Give yourself the time to grieve the loss of your former self. You are having a funeral for your former self. You're also celebrating, as it were, the birth of your new self. Give yourself time. But it's a great question. I wish you a lot of good stuff on your journey. I know it's a very, very hard place to be. So, hard stuff. I really wish you well. I really do. And let me go back to some comments here. Let's see here, missed a few. I'm going to wrap up here in about maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Let's see here. Susanna says, my first thought began in the Ten Commandments. It said, thou shalt not kill, yet a double standard commanded mass death of complete people groups. Yeah, isn't that crazy? And then God actually drowns the whole world himself. Like, don't murder, but I'm going to murder everyone. It's amazing, too, how God says in the New Testament, Jesus says, if you don't forgive from your heart, then God will never forgive you. So it's like, well, so that means that God has the ability to never forgive. You're saying we could hold a grudge forever and never forgive. And if we do that, then God will hold a grudge forever against us and never forgive. Sorry. Bullshit. Bing, 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 bing. No way. Getting away from the church for a while can help someone think about the truth. Had to change while in it totally. Kids are also an important trigger. Yeah. Brian, I appreciate your work and the works of many others who have deconstructed. It continues to help me along with my own journey. That's awesome, Brian. Thank you so much for sharing. And feel free to reach out if you'd ever like to consider sharing your story. Let's see here. John Johnson, there is no truth in religion, but if you search for truth, you will find it. And freedom ensues daily. It's kind of cool. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, you have to be committed to truth more than the Bible and don't assume that the Bible and the truth are one and the same. Yeah, if you can split those up in your head, it's amazing. Allie Bree says, it's so freeing to see my Bible on the shelf as just a book I own. It's no longer the book that owns me. Oh, wow. Allie, awesome. You're a poet. I love it. Copy what you just said and turn that into a poem, please. We want to see you on the Poetry Slam. That's poetry right there. You're living poetry. That's beautiful stuff. Wow. Nice work. Robin's Nest. Originally, I started this psychopathic nature of Yahweh and focused on the Calvinist predetermination view that 99% of humanity, billions upon billions of humans, designed for eternal hellfire. Yeah, that was my path too. Very much. Very, very sad. Let's see here. Yeah, there was a good question there for that we were working through with talking about how to reclaim your identity. And for a lot of people, well, there may have been a different question, but for a lot of people, the question that we were talking about reclaiming your identity is just so painful. People just can't do it. Let's see here. Joseph says, love your content. Been to seminary. I finally escaped from Christianity. Keep up the good work. Love to jump in on the live if traffic is low. Thank you, Joseph. Yeah, feel free to jump in if you'd like to. I'll put the link in again, and we could probably do one more if you're still here. And if not, feel free to reach out to me. We'd love to do an interview with you at some point and hear your full story. And so I'm going to jump to the bottom. I'm sorry, I'm going through some chats, passing some of the chats here, but I want to wrap up here in about 5 minutes. So Carrie Ann says, I started by making my life goals to die, knowing I did my best to live a life that was trying to make sure things get better for the future people. Plant a tree, you won't be in its shade. Yeah, love it. I love it. Great way to put it, Carrie Ann. Great way to put it. Let's see here. When I first left 6 years ago, I was pissed and disappointed and let down and all that. It hit me hard, but I made it through it. Now life is freaking awesome, even when it sucks. Yeah, absolutely. Carrie Ann says, then I reevaluated everything to determine what I like or don't like without preconceptions. Yep, like it very much so. John says, The Naked Bible and The Gods of the Bible by Mario Bigloni, 2 books that will help Christians leaving the church understand what the Bible really says. Eye-opening facts. Thank you. I don't think I've read those books at all. I may have heard of them, but I definitely haven't read them. So thank you, John. Great stuff. And yeah, love the Alan Watts video. They made it all up. Must watch. Absolutely. Alan Watts gets it. He really does. At least on some of it for sure. I haven't dove into his stuff enough to vouch for him all the way, but I know that was a good one. Carrie says, accepting that the evil good thing is mythology and not a human trait helps too. Yeah, absolutely. And it's all psychology. Yeah, it really is. I'm going to, looks like we have another guest. I'm going to bring our next guest on here. Hey, Joe, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Great. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to change our color here. It looks like I
there you go.
Didn't think through how to make that pop a little bit. That's a little better. How
that
you doing?
Works. Doing pretty good. Thanks for bringing me on.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah. So I grew up in a pretty conservative, charismatic homeschool world, and really the kind of the only place, the only future that world could imagine was seminary.
Meaning to eventually be a pastor.
Yeah. And so I ended up at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary, and I got my Master's of Arts in Church History. I did most of the work for an MDiv as well, although I'm terrible at foreign languages and couldn't figure Hebrew out. So that didn't happen. Yeah. I can do Greek, I can do Latin, no problem. But but Hebrew was kicking my ass.
I was so jealous of people that could do it. I had friends that could do Hebrew, and then they went on to Sanskrit, and I was like, "You're gotta be kidding me!"
You gotta be kidding! Yeah.
They did
it. And then life happened, and I am now about, I would say, 2 or 3 years out of identifying as a Christian. And so I've been doing a lot of the work of deconstruction and looking at the history that I used to study from inside of the environment, from outside of it. It's a different story.
Do you mind telling us just a few of the big picture highlights of the things that kind of got your attention?
Yeah, I think I had a professor as early as community college. I mean, it was a minute ago, and he said if you're going to study theology, you have to be okay with the idea that a lot of the why we believe what we believe, the creeds and stuff like this, was as much about political power as it was about faith. And at the time, that comment stuck with me, but I was able to ignore it because I was drinking so much of the Kool-Aid. And now that I'm out of it, it's the only aspect of it that I can see.
So amazing. I know it's like that whole thing we say with the man behind the curtain. Once you've seen him, you can't unsee him.
Yeah. And I have this kind of, now I'm kind of in a position where I don't think that Christianity is morally neutral, and you can be a good person or a bad person. I think Christianity is morally bankrupt and psychologically dangerous. Yeah. And so that's quite a swing from the square that I started out on.
I love how you put that. That's honestly, that's one of the biggest things I think that hits the hardest, is realizing that, especially those of us who are in it and in ministry or preparing for it, that we were perpetuating or about to perpetuate one of the worst concepts of all time, including, I mean, to me, the sucker punch that just really got me in the gut was like, I was teaching little children this garbage. I was teaching little children that they were sinners on the way to hell, that God could see in their head and was judging them. I'm like, this was psychological child abuse. And it's like,
100%.
Totally morally bankrupt.
And so much of my healing journey has been somatic awareness of my own body and my own bodily sensations. And when I was a Christian, I could not perceive that reality. And now that I'm out of the faith, I can be in touch with just the signals my body is telling me about my own reality, in ways that I couldn't have
Can you
imagined
tell us more about that?
while being.
What
Yeah,
does that look
okay.
like?
So this is weird, right? But I grew up stone deaf in my right ear. So just unable. So when you deaf in one ear, you can't tell where sound comes from. And you, yeah. So I'm trying to talk and I'm listening to echo at the same time. So it's a little it's throwing me a little bit. But yeah.
You're hearing an echo?
Yeah, as I've walked away from Christianity, my hearing is actually starting to come back in my ear. And I actually had it tested, and the doctor said that I'm only 75% deaf in that ear, which is strange because prior to leaving the faith, I was 100% deaf in that ear. And so there is actually a little bit of healing, of like the ear is starting to work again in ways that it hadn't, while I would have described myself as a person of faith. And
It's a miracle. Praise the Lord.
well, the hubris of Christianity that describes itself as the thing that lets us hear, it is not lost on me.
It is amazing. Well, I had a different but parallel kind of story. I had severe insomnia for about 25, 30 years, just hardcore. Got worse and worse and worse. Try to get out of bed and collapse for years. It destroyed my late teenage and early adult years. I just couldn't sleep at all.
Yeah.
I always looked like I hadn't slept for a week, and I had a pastor tell me, the Bible says the Lord gives sleep to His beloved. And he's like, you must.
No.
Yeah, he's like, although later I learned out there's a
No, he
different
did not
translation.
say that.
He did.
Oh
There's a different translation of that verse that says, the Lord gives to His beloved while they're sleeping. Like you're kind of like earning interest, at the bank while you're sleeping, kind of thing. But the traditional translation is like the Lord gives to His beloved sleep. So it was like, look, you must have some unconfessed sin. And I came from Philadelphia to Georgia for this special doctor. It was all left brain, right brain stuff. He cured it in a month with no medicine after 30 years. And I was like, oh, so all the stuff the pastor told me is like, it wasn't about God or sin. It was just a left brain, right brain thing. And I can sleep now just fine with no medicine after 30 years of thinking it was a God issue. It's just crazy.
It's so profoundly psychologically abusive.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing the hoops we jumped through. Well,
can I ask? Yeah.
Your story is fascinating. I would love to, if you could, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook if we're not already friends. My handle's at Harmonic Tim. Feel free to add me if you want to, and reach out, and we'll set up a time to share your story because I'd love to hear. It sounds like you got a lot more to tell. So.
Oh, I do. That'd be fun.
Yeah, please do. We definitely want to. I'm trying. I've got a lot of things booked, so it might be a few weeks, but that gives people time to think through their notes and prepare. But I would love to hear the whole thing.
Yeah, it'd be fun to share. I don't have a social media platform, so I can't bring followers by interacting with me. But
oh, no worries.
but it'd be fun.
There's a big habit of when you start doing interviews with YouTubers, a lot of people end up starting the YouTube channel. So you never know.
All right.
You might be there soon. Was there anything else you wanted to add? Anything else you wanted to add?
No, I'm good. Thanks for the time. This is fun. Layla. All right.
What breed is your dog, by the way?
So I'm a dog walker. Okay. My partner Carrie and I started our own business. We both do it full time, and we have about 60 clients in our area, and we just walk dogs. So I'm dog sitting tonight. I'm not sure what breed this one is, but it's really, really small.
I saw some curly hair. Is that a curly haired dog?
Is it? Yeah, it's a curly haired girl. Yeah. Okay. Layla, come here. Come here.
We'd love to see the dog before you drop, if you could.
Yeah. I'm trying. Come here, Layla.
Oh, I see enough. Yeah, that's. Oh,
she's going in there. She's going in her little thing.
Layla,
hi, baby.
Oh, what a sweet.
Hi, baby girl. Oh, you good to give him kisses? Good girl.
Well, thank you so much, Joe. We'll definitely reach out.
Yep. All right. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joe. I'm gonna, in terms of the people joining, I'm gonna call Joe the last one. So please, please do, if you're thinking of joining, please do keep me in mind for next Saturday. We'll do this again. I did just want to mention a couple quick things. I saw a comment. I'm not going to read through them all, unfortunately. There's just, I'm number one, I'm losing my voice a little bit. And I'm going to do some live streams tomorrow. I want to rest it a little bit tonight. But I do want to mention something interesting. Steve said this. He said, many atheists are happy to criticize Yahweh, but don't want to criticize Jesus. What do you all think about this dichotomy? Does Jesus need to be criticized more? 100%, Steve. And I just wanted to put this, I'm going to put a link in, and I'm going to highlight it. This is from Richard Carrier. He starts with these words: let's face it, Jesus is a dick. And he goes on to tell why. Highly recommend you click on that. Go to Richard Carrier's blog, Dr. Carrier's blog. Dr. Carrier, by the way, is awesome. I'm going to have him on the channel at some point. But he is awesome. And please do, if you're curious, is Jesus a good guy compared to Yahweh? The answer is pretty much no. So let me see here. A couple more comments. Thank you for discussing this topic. It's so important to emphasize that the Christian worldview isn't just wrong. It actively hurts people. Yeah, absolutely. Well said. See here. Yeah, definitely need to acknowledge it as child abuse for sure. Highly abusive. And see if there's anything else I want to highlight real quick. I'm going to let Cheryl be the last one. Cheryl says, Christianity removes empathy for others by its worldview. Yeah. Yes, it's amazing. They might say that they're going to fight against toxic empathy. I saw that recently, a Christian lady doing sort of Christian apologetics of sorts, talking about how Christians should be fighting toxic empathy. I would argue that they just fight empathy in general, but that they really do want to say that, you know, you can't see the world through anyone else's eyes. You have to see it through only the lens of our strict Christian lens, and especially if they're fundamentalists and or Christian nationalists, where they want to take over the world for Christ. They don't have an inch worth of room for your different perspective, and that honestly is very scary, both in terms of the election coming up, as well as just our culture. We need to fight this. They are actively trying to take away our rights by leaps and bounds, and they will if they can. So we need to keep on, speaking loudly where we can, keep the conversations going, and try to leave our planet, starting with our country, better than we found it. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up, but thank you all so much. Again, please do feel free to join me tomorrow. I will have a few live streams on my channel. I'll probably adjust some things. So check in, whatever's there right now, just ignore that. Check in tomorrow morning if you want to see what's on the agenda, and I'll have something up there for sure. But appreciate you all so much. Great comments. Thank you all for those of you that came on. I really appreciate it. You all, I've said this before, but you all blow me away, and you keep me accountable. You inspire me, and you give me great thoughts. I mean, I'm going to walk away from this when I end this stream. I've got about 10 minutes of note taking, where I'm going to go back through the comments and just grab amazing comments and put them down for my notes for future live streams. There's such good stuff. You all are more than amazing, and I really appreciate you so much. Also, just again, where I started from, if anyone is able to support me, especially those of you that are aware of my custody battle, all the ways to support me are beneath this video. I can't say thank you enough. I really do need your support if you can do it. But everyone, thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. See you tomorrow.